because in a moment we're going to bring up the police chief, and he's going to speak to us today. We're going to also have opportunity for some Q&A. If we can get a mic and a mic stand on each side, put them about right here, appreciate it. And if anyone has a question for the police chief after he's finished, then we ask that you come up. We're not going to keep asking you if you want to ask a question. Please come up, formulate a line. You can put it right here, sir. Put it right there. Thank you. That's good. Yeah. Just turn it that way. That way. Yes. You can lower it a little bit. You can ask the questions once he's finished, and we ask that you get to your question, get to the point. There may be other individuals. This is not a time to express the whole world scenario. If you have a question, ask the question. Amen. And if you're going too long in trying to ask the question, we will then kindly let somebody else ask their question. Amen. But to introduce the chief, ministry for a number of years, and God is using him in so many other different manners and ways and so forth. And he also is a chaplain for the police department for how many years, sir? About 20 years or so. He's been a chaplain for the police department. So we just thank God for him, for his love and care. And so without any further delay, I'm going to bring up one and only Dr. Fougere Gordon.
Thank you so very much. It is my honor and privilege to introduce Chief Barnard, the Chief of Police for the Prince William County Police Department. The two things you need to remember about him is, first and foremost, that he is a fellow believer, man of God. And what that means is that he's an advocate for doing the right thing. The second thing is that he's there to protect and serve the community. So let me introduce Chief Barnard. Please come forward.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. My name is Barry Barnard, and I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to join you in your worship services this morning. I want to thank everyone for their hospitality and their kindness. Pastor, thank you very much. Thank you for your message. Every time I start a car now, it's going to have a whole new meaning. I realize I never thought about it like that, but you're not just starting a car, you're starting your day. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It is an honor to be here, and I look forward to having conversation with you. If you live in Prince William County, I am your police chief. Thank you. If you work here, if you travel through, if you come to Prince William County to play and have recreation, if you shop in Prince William County, yes, and if you, of course, worship in Prince William County, I'm your police chief. So let me just say a few things, and then I do very much look forward to having some dialogue and answering some questions. We have what I think to be an outstanding police department here in Prince William County. Thank you. We do the very best that we can each and every day. We have great people, great police officers, great professional civilian staff. We want to serve the community as best we can every single day, every single time we have an interaction with the community. It's important to us that we do the right thing. In the police department, there's only one way to do it, and that is the right way. And we talk a lot about that in the police department. We don't want to take shortcuts. We want to present ourselves in a professional manner and honor and serve the citizens that we work for. We work for you. That's who we work for. We work for the community, and that is, we remind ourselves of that each and every day. While we do have a great police department, and the surveys show that, we have been doing surveys, the county does surveys, we, the police department, doesn't do them per se, but the county does, and they've been doing them through the University of Virginia and now through a survey firm for many years, and the results have shown us that we have great respect throughout the community, that we do a pretty good job, and they have some questions in there about attitudes and behaviors and overall satisfaction, that sort of thing. And it shows that the county police is a respected organization, and it's really the people that make up the county police. We have a lot of equipment, we have technology and all that, but when you boil it all down, it's really the people that work there that make up the police. Everything all right? Okay. All right. That make up the police department. So we're very proud of that, and we honor that. And we're particularly proud of that because, the nature of our business is sometimes we do have to arrest people. Sometimes we have to write traffic summonses, things of that nature. So having done all that thousands of times a year, we still have pretty good feedback from our community about how we go about our business. And that's as I say, very important to us. However, I understand and know that we're certainly not perfect by any stretch, by any means. We want to do the right thing, but we're made up of human beings. And sometimes we stub our toe. Sometimes we don't do provide the service in the manner in which we should. That's just going to happen, and we want to do everything we can to minimize that through training, through supervision, through selection of staff, whatever it might be. If we have some folks that don't do the right thing, then we provide them with mentoring, we provide them with training, we provide them with guidance, and when necessary, we provide them with some level of discipline that's appropriate for the situation. So we're not perfect, but we want to be as close to that as we can. That's our goal every single day. When we hire people, we talk a lot to them about honesty and integrity. We give them some comments right here in the chief's office. I talk to them about honesty and integrity. And I tell them how important that is to our core values here in the police department. That is who we are. And if they don't adhere to those values, they're not going to work here. The other thing that we talk to them about, which is very important, is fair and impartial policing. So after we get through, congratulations, we're glad to hire you. Welcome aboard. Very exciting time for you and your family. People get a job, people get hired. That's a big day. That's a big deal. Nothing wrong with a nice smile and being excited about that. It's a great day when you get a job. But when we get through all that, then I talk to them about honesty and integrity, and I talk to them about the diversity of our community. Prince William County is blessed to have diversity from the river to the mountains, and we think that is one of our strengths. We are a very diverse community. We're a diverse community in ethnicity, a diverse community in our languages that we speak and where we're from and our socioeconomic status. We have folks in the community that are challenged economically. We have folks that aren't. We have homeless camps in Prince William County that sometimes people we hire are not aware of that. So we have a great community, but we also have challenges. So I talk to folks about fair and impartial policing, and I tell them from the very beginning, hearing it directly from me, what the expectations are. And the expectations are very simple, that we treat all people with respect, no matter who they are, no matter what their background, and that this is who we are. This is the requirement. And I give them some examples. If you pull up to a parking accident, an accident of some sort, And you see a couple of drivers, presumed to be the drivers there. And one of them's driving a nice car and looks kind of like you and maybe has certain life experiences similar to yours. And the other person looks different and is driving a vehicle that maybe needs, a little older, that kind of thing. Do not make any assumptions about anything. None. About who's at fault, who did what, and all that kind of thing. You need to stick with the facts. You need to go up there and introduce yourself to everyone with a smile and a handshake. Check and make sure everybody's doing fine, Have conversation with people, and then learn what happened in the accident and apply the law, appropriately. But don't be making any assumptions based upon who you're interacting with or who you are about to interact with. We all have unique experiences. We all grew up different places, many of us, and we have different unique experiences that we share, but we have some things that we may not have experienced. So I talk to my officers a lot about fair and impartial policing, and we are trained in that. We all get training on that. We brought in some national experts to help us with that, and we continue to train in that arena. One area that we need help on, and I'm glad to be here today to talk about this. I'm not shy about it because I need your help. I do. I need your help because we need to do better, is our diversity in the police department. I need to do everything I can to increase our diversity, to enhance our diversity, and to get it to where it needs to be. Generally speaking, in the law enforcement profession, the standard you sort of want to reach is having a department that reflects your community. And in Prince William County, for example, the African American population is about 20%, 21, 22, but around 20%. And we have less than half of that number in the police department. So, and the other ethnicity percentages are similar. So we have work to do. We have a very fine recruiting staff. We work very hard at that. We think we're doing the right things. We go to historically black colleges. We visit where we think we'll find a large pool of people of diversity. We do that routinely. Done that for a long time. But the percentages and the numbers are not where they need to be. And I'm here today to answer questions and have great conversation and introduce myself. But I also want you to know that we're hiring. We're hiring. And we welcome applications from anyone here today, but also from people that your friends, your family, people that may be in school today who have an interest in law enforcement. So I just share that with you. We're doing everything we can to do better in that category, and we'll continue to work at it. If people looked at us and I had the time to tell you everything we've done, we probably, in terms of effort, we probably grade out, pretty good in terms of effort. Our team's going here, our team's doing this. We probably grade out pretty good in terms of effort. But the percentages don't reflect that effort, quite frankly. So we need to look for strategies. So if you have suggestions, comments, feedback, ideas, whatever it might be, please share those with me in the future. Send me an email, give me a phone call, talk to our recruiters, but whatever it might be, we're always interested in feedback. We do what we can to make sure that we don't have barriers that prevent people from getting hired. I think that's very important. We recently did away with the written test, and we hired officers that did not take the written test. Many places have like a written test you take and kind of an entry examination. And we've been doing that for a long time, and we stopped doing that, and so we hired some folks who never took the test. We put them in the academy, and they did just fine. Then we hired some folks that took the test, put them in the academy, and maybe they did fine. So we're not sure, that we've needed tests. It's a very valid test. All the experts, validated and all that kind of thing. But so we've stopped doing that. We've relaxed our tattoo policy quite a bit. We have a tattoo policy, and I've relaxed that here in the last few weeks so that, it could be a generational type of thing. And we've had a policy, you could only have so many tattoos and this sort of thing. Today, you just, we've relaxed that quite a bit, and we're just mainly concerned about anyone who has offensive tattoos. That's mainly what our concern is, that are visible, when you're in uniform. So we have some challenges in the recruiting diversity area, and I want you to know that very much. I've been doing a number of community forums throughout the community, and I enjoy this. First of all, I have a responsibility to meet the folks that I work for. I just feel that way, and hear your feedback and listen to you. I'm enjoying talking with you, but I need to learn what's on your mind and how you feel about our police department. And so when we start the Q&A today, as I look around, I don't think this is a shy group of people here, but I welcome questions that might be, challenging and difficult and that kind of thing. I'm not, I don't shy away from that, and I think it's important that we have that dialogue. For example, I've gotten comments and questions, and learned that sometimes people are concerned about being stopped by the police. They're just concerned about it. Some of it is historical in nature. It goes back a long time before Ferguson. People use Ferguson as sort of a placeholder, like concerns of police started at Ferguson, and that's not the case. And I'm sharing these things, because I have visited and I just have a better understanding. So I understand that folks are concerned about that. I was at a men's mentoring group a couple of weeks ago over at the Montclair Library, and it was about 20 men, all African American, and these are a great group of gentlemen. They mentor youth, youth, teens, and young adults. And I guess whatever the people are, the mentorees, they were not there. The mentors were there. I hope I said that right. So the young people that were being mentored were not there that evening. So I was meeting with the mentors, and we had a great conversation for literally a couple hours, and they asked me a lot of questions. I got to know them very well. And I asked them, I said, well, let me ask you a couple of questions, because I need to know. I need to know, it's important that I understand how you feel about this. I said, do you all have any concerns about being stopped by the police department? And a number of hands went up. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So we talked about that for a little while. And so I have an understanding of that. And whether, we officers, this officer or this officer or this officer, whether they're concerned about it, the fact is the people that we serve are concerned about it. And I think we have to acknowledge, the police department, has to acknowledge that people have those concerns. So if you've lived here in Prince William County for many years, and you might be one of those folks that kind of checks this with pretty good remarks and pretty good comments over the years, maybe you went to high school here, maybe your children are going to high school here, and we appreciate that. That doesn't mean you don't have some questions, and don't have some concerns about how we do police work here in Prince William. So I understand that, and I acknowledge that people do have questions about that. I was at Ebenezer Baptist Church a couple of months ago, and there was a seminar, I think it was a Saturday morning. It was sponsored by Noble, which is a professional law enforcement black executive organization. And there were a number of youth there, and during the session, we did some role playing about stopping vehicles, and I thought that was quite helpful, and we had additional discussion about people's concerns. So I understand that, and we're doing everything we can to make sure our officers have an appreciation for that question and for that concern. And we look forward to having that continued dialogue. The most important thing that we can do, that we have to have, that is so important with a community and a police department, is trust. It's all about trust. trusting us to do the right thing, trusting us to be thorough and professional and kind to people. I've learned in this business a long time ago, if you extend a little kindness, you get it back 10 times. You really do. People want to enjoy, appreciate their police department. They do. I think that's just a common, people, these are people out here trying to do a great job to protect Prince William County. And in my view, they do that. But we also understand that the thousands of contacts we have of our citizens every year, there's going to be some times where we drop the ball. And we have to acknowledge that. And we have to address it, and we have to fix it, and learn from it, and move on. So it's important that we have trust. We try to pride ourselves on being contemporary. We pay attention to national events. When things happen in Ferguson, Baton Rouge, South Carolina, Minnesota, we pay attention to that. We see what's happening there, and it raises concerns for us as a police department about, are we doing everything we can to build trust? We pay attention to President Obama's reports. We don't take those and put them on the shelf. When his 24th Century Policing Report came out, we read that. We know about the 6 pillars. And one of those pillars is about building trust and how important that is. And we want to bring those values, reinforce those values, bring those values where necessary into our police department to be sure that we're doing the right thing. We pay attention to events around the country. We do the best we can to be understanding and sensitive that while we think we do a good job, while we think we're, doing what we can to hire the best people and that sort of thing, train them up correctly, give them proper supervision, that we can never be satisfied. We have to earn the community's trust every single day. Every single day. If everybody in here said, Chief, it's just an unbelievably fantastic police department. Well, that'd be great to hear. But we have to earn that trust and that respect every day, every time we have a contact with a citizen. We can't be satisfied. It has to be earned. It has to be a part of our culture. And that's just so very much important to us. So building trust is really number one. It's really number one. You can read volumes about law enforcement and police services in America. There's more out there than anyone could possibly read in a lifetime. There's so much written about police services. And I will just share this with you that how we police in America is important. And maybe I have some influence over that in some very small way. I go to national meetings and things of that nature. I belong to national police organizations that try to work hard to improve policing. But I can only influence national policing so much. But I can influence how we police in Prince William County. That's my job. That's my responsibility. So when you have a question or concern about how we do things, I want to hear from you. I really appreciate hearing from you. And if we have all kinds of commanders out here that you can talk to, and we have a process and all that, but I only adhere to charts and things like that so much. I think everybody has to have them, but I welcome you to contact me directly if you have a concern, if you feel comfortable doing that. Because basically I'm accountable for that. I'm responsible for that. And this might surprise you, but I'll tell you, while committees and groups and advisory groups and all that is important, and it is, it's nice to have a citizens, talking to the chief in some sort of monthly meeting or something like that. That's very important. That's very helpful. The tone of the police department is set in the chief's office with the chief. That's who sets that. So if the chief isn't doing the right thing, if we have a constant stream of questions about officers' attitudes and behaviors and things like that, then you need to fire the police chief. because it's about leadership, and it's about how we conduct ourselves. And we want to do the best we can in respecting all citizens in Prince William County. So I think I've been talking a few minutes now, and I think it's time for some questions, because if I keep talking, I'll just keep talking. So I'm going to stop, and I don't know if some folks have some questions, and be glad to hear some.
We have a lot of young people, young drivers in our congregation. What tips can you give them should they be pulled over for traffic violation?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. The answer to that question is, and I certainly understand how the question is asked. Here's how I feel about that question. The answer to that question is, what do we tell our police officers when they pull over someone, how they should respond, how they should act, how they should behave? If it's an officer and a person in the vehicle, whoever they may be, young, old, whatever their race may be, between the two of them, there's only one person that's been trained in terms of how to stop a vehicle, how to interact with a citizen, how to interact with the driver, and that, of course, is the police officer. That person has been trained, and the expectations are they will approach the vehicle and they will provide the level of respect that is required throughout that traffic stop. That's the expectation. So we can talk about, what should young people do, or what should anyone do really, but what should young people do with your question? Remain calm and just, follow the instructions of the police officer and that sort of thing. And just, provide your driver's license when requested, all that. And we have a brochure that we provide, what to do when stopped by the police. And it's really common sense kind of thing in the brochure. There's nothing really special in there. For me, the responsibility starts with our police officer. How does the police officer, what am I going to tell the police officer on how to engage young people or anyone when you pull over a vehicle? And part of that is about our fair and impartial policing, meaning if someone is dressed, if it's a officer similar to myself, grew up in suburban America somewhere, and they're stopping someone who's different than they are, we need to train folks, meaning our staff, train our staff, that people who look different, dress different, talk different, sound different, different languages, in other words, have an accent, speak their native language is not English, whatever the case may be, that this shouldn't surprise anybody. You shouldn't be surprised when you stop anybody in Prince William County who's different, because we are such a diverse community, and we do need to recognize that and be prepared for that and be trained for that, and not be so sensitive about, well, I'm stopping someone that's very different from me, therefore I need to be on my T's and Q's. I need to be very careful here and need to ask very serious questions. No, that's this is a traffic stop for perhaps a traffic violation. Maybe the officer thinks the person ran a stop sign, whatever it might be, speeding, something. But that's really on us. I guess that's really my answer to that question. That's on us to, if we notice the person is has some level of nervousness or anxiety, and people do. I get a little nervous when a police officer's behind me, when I'm driving my own car. And my wife is sitting next to me, and we're driving our Toyota down the street, and I turn left, and he turns left, and I turn right, and the officer turns right. And I said, okay, what's this about? How fast am I going, But we just want people to relax, to answer your question. It really is about How you doing, young man? How are you? I'm Officer Barnard. How are you today? I'm fine, officer. Okay, very good. Hey, listen, stop here for speeding a little bit. Let's talk about it. But before we get to that, can I have your driver's license registration, so we know who we are talking to, and we continue with that. It's about making people feel relaxed, and I think that's such, us starting with respect and then conversing with a hello and an introduction, saying something that's somewhat friendly, just that kind of thing, and then having a tone of voice and mannerisms that help people relax. Should people generally follow officers' instructions? They generally should, that kind of thing. But it's really just about relaxing. And as I say, out of the two people there, one's been trained on how to do traffic stops and how to interact, and the other person has not. And I think that's where it all begins. It really begins with us. It's really on us to do what we can and make that interaction with the citizen as stress-free as possible. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I had an incident. I had been stopped for maybe going a little bit over the speed limit.
A little bit.
As I was pulling over, I actually reached in my pocket, grabbed my wallet, sat in my lap, made sure my hands were on the steering wheel. You always get nervous when a cop pulls you over, even if you didn't do anything. It's just part of the process. And apparently he's looking at me through the back of the window, and he sees me doing all these movements, trying to get this wallet out of my pocket. He comes over, says, "What were you reaching for?" It's my wallet. He's like, "Well, your wallet's in your lap." Well, I took it and put it out there. He immediately says, "Do you mind if I check the car?" So how do we progress to that point for something that may have looked suspicious? We didn't want any accidents. There's been a lot of accidents lately. So should I have had my hands on the wheel, left it in my pocket until he actually asked for it? The process is what's confusing. Might help a few other people.
Sure. We don't train citizens. So if I get stopped by the police and I realize, well, he doesn't know who I am and that sort of thing, it's not unreasonable to understand that you're probably going to be asked for your license, your driver's license, and to begin to locate that. That's not unreasonable to do that. And so that you have it prepared. That's after some hellos, that's the piece of identification the officer's going to want is your driver's license. So I don't really have a issue with what you did, to be honest with you. And when people want to search your cars, and we have legal authority under certain grounds to search cars. We do. That's a whole 90 minutes on vehicle searches. But just to ask someone, can I search your car without some reason or cause, that would be a question I would have, is why did you ask that question? And you certainly can say no, but is it okay to wait for the officer to arrive at your door and provide you instructions like, "How you doing, sir? May I see your driver's license?" and then reach for your license? It is. It's okay to do that. When an officer pulls you over, it's okay to also have it ready. In other words, when an officer pulls you over, they're doing multiple things at one time. And we may have police officers in the audience here today, or people with law enforcement background. I'm never naive to think we don't have other folks of this in law enforcement in the audience. So they're calling in your tag number. They're giving a location on the radio. They have computers in their cars, and they've put your tag number in the car, and they're waiting to see if anything returns on it that's unusual. And while they're doing all this, they're keeping an eye on the driver. They're trained to do that, so that somebody doesn't hop out and run back toward them. Somebody doesn't jump out of the car and with a weapon, that sort of thing. But they are, so they're trained to watch the drivers, keep an eye on the car. Typically the officer's by himself, in most cases, not always, but typically they are. And then a second officer might slide by in a few minutes, a couple of minutes, when he hears the stop has been made. So they're trained to do that, and movement movement, a little movement, which they interpret as unusual, draws their attention. That's all. It just draws their attention. You know, they want to do what they can to keep the drivers or the vehicle, people in the vehicle safe, and they want to do what they can to keep themselves safe. So are the questions reasonable? Almost comes down to the particular interaction between the citizen and the officer. In that case, I think a lot of people sometimes reach for their license when they know that they've been pulled over. I don't see that as particularly unusual, to be honest with you, as people approach the car, you know. But if you're concerned or nervous about it, then just wait for the officer to get to the doorway and ask you for your license. But in many cases, pulling out your license or having it prepared for the officer when he gets to the door or the window of your car, I don't see that as unusual at all. And but I also understand that, you know, there's going to be some police officers who, you know, as they interpret the movement of the driver, they're just, you know, a little bit, they may have some level of concern about, were you hiding something? Were you secreting something? Not so much getting something, but were you hiding something? And so that raises a little bit of a flag with them. So there's no easy answer on that. It's certainly not wrong, inappropriate, or any word you want to use for you to begin to get your license out. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Many drivers do that. Many drivers do that.
Hi. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
What I've heard from you so far, I'm really I'm happy to know that you are our chief in Prince William County, and we'll be praying for you to continue to be our chief. The question is there a policy or a program in place already for police officers that may be, to identify police officers that may be troubled or troubled before they cause an incident with the community? That's the question.
Thank you for that question. That's a great question. Yes, there are. We do, just starting from the hiring phase, and I think you're talking past that, and I'm going to talk about that. But at the hiring phase, we go through a lot of steps, which part of that is a psychological. You know, everyone gets a psychological when they're hired. We have questions about biases and things like that. So we do a lot of screening. We, of course, visit their neighborhoods where they grew up and knock on doors. There's a whole process to be hired as a police officer. It's quite complex. It's quite involved. So now you're on board. Now you're on board. You're out here working as a police officer. And yes, we have a system where if you have 3 of something, we're going to review your performance. 3 of something in a relatively short period of time. In other words, you have 3 use of force. You have 3 complaints, or you have a combination of that. Combination of use of force, maybe you had 1 or 2 use of force, and you also had a complaint. Internal or external. You know, we have supervisors who may lodge a concern about one of their officers. You know, it's not always external. We have complaints made within the organization. So that's called Early Intervention System, EIS, and we have that, and it's computerized and whatnot, so we don't have to track it on paper. So Barnard has used force a couple of times, and now I have a complaint lodged against me. We learned very quickly that this is 3 incidents. So we review those 3 incidents at a different level. You know, we're not just looking, well, was the use of force correct? Were you rude to that citizen? Did you unfortunately use profanity? Were you sloppy in how you handled the call when you went to investigate some sort of a crime at a citizen's home? Did you not make an arrest on a domestic violence case when you should have? So we look at that in more of a broad perspective than individuals, and we review those. We have a commander review those, and then I see those. I see the result of that review. Sometimes I have questions, you know. So if we have that, let's say we have someone who, gee, I think this person, are they stressed? Are they going through challenges in their life? that's impacting their performance. And people, cops are people too. They we have divorces, we have financial challenges, we lose parents, we lose loved ones. We're no different than anybody else in terms of the things that impact our lives outside of the police department. So, is this person dealing with something where they need some assistance, where we need to give them some mentoring, some training, have them see a professional, whatever the case may be? So the answer to your question is a resounding yes. We do that, and we track that, and we pay a lot of attention to that, and we take the necessary action and steps when necessary to help remediate any issues that we may see there. Sometimes we learn over time, sometimes we address issues where there's one event, and it's such a serious event that the person must be separated from the police department. But sometimes it's not one event. Sometimes we learn through time that we have a tenured officer that is not upholding our values. There's not like one thing where it's like a series of poor police work. And we do what we can to address that, and if we can't address it, that person is separated. So we have a system for that. Yes. Thank you for that.
Hello. You mentioned that when you hire individuals, you will speak to them about honesty and integrity and the diversity of the county and things. Is there mandatory training on a regular basis for cultural sensitivity? Depending on where you come from or your background, as you know, the relationship with the police is different in every country. And so I'm a school principal. At my school, by the way, you're welcome to come. We have 70% minority, and most of them are Black or Latinos. So we have military recruiters there every quarter. It would be nice to have the academy, the police officers come to recruit our students as well. But back to my question, I'm sorry. The cultural sensitivity training, is it mandatory? We as educators have to have that to know you come from this country, this is the relationship you had with education and your teachers there. So here, this is how we deal with you. Is there something in place for that? Yes,
is the answer. We do cultural diversity training. We've been doing it for a very, very long time. We started it today. The Commonwealth of Virginia requires police officers to have cultural diversity training. It's actually a mandate that we have this training through the Department of Criminal Justice Services. That's the state agency that determines what is the minimum, and I'll underline that word, what is the minimum amount of training that a police officer in Virginia should have. That's determined by Richmond. We and many fine police departments in Virginia far exceed that training in many areas. They determine the minimum. So for many years, we have had cultural diversity training. We give cultural diversity training and fair and impartial police training to our recruits, our new officers, and then we have in-service classes on those topics, and we emphasize that. Some of it is classroom, some of it is online, some of it is a mixture of both, and I want to be particularly sensitive going forward as to what the curriculum is. I think we need to be sure we're doing the right thing and that we have the best training that's speaking to current issues and current concerns. Like all cops, I have to go to the same training. Doesn't matter, chief doesn't get a waiver. I don't get a waiver. So I have to attend the training, and sometimes it's very good. And like all training, sometimes, maybe it wasn't the best. So I want to be sure that we're addressing current topics that are important to our community. We have to address what the mandate is from the state, but we have a lot of discretion there, and I want to be sure that the concerns that I hear from the community regarding the topic of diversity, cultural diversity, are being addressed. And for example, I'm having a meeting in October. Very few people know about this. And with my command staff, you know, we have meetings, and I said, well, I told somebody the other day who works for me, I said, I want you to organize a meeting one day, meeting in October. And I told him it's an all-day thing, some things I want to talk about with, it'd be like 40 to 50 people, our top commanders. We do this every now and again. And that's one of the things I want to talk about is give them some feedback and have some folks that I've gotten to know or known. I've known community leaders in Prince William County for years, but have some people come to this meeting to let them hear directly folks' concerns and also make sure that we address those concerns properly. So a lot of talk to say yes, but I'm never satisfied. You know, yes is the answer, but I want to be sure that it's the best cultural diversity training, if you're with me. We're not just checking the box. You know, there are some things we've all been in training, so you know what I'm talking about. Everyone shall report at 10 a.m. Here's 12 dates, choose one, you know. And so I want to be sure it's relevant and it addresses the needs and concerns of all of our citizens here in Prince William County. That's my responsibility.
Afternoon, sir. You've stated that you are below your desired diversity percentages within your department. Do you think that is because of, one, lack of applicants, the applicants that are applying for the positions they have in criminal history, or is it because of potential personnel failing out of the academy? Failing out of the academy. Failing out of, yes, sir.
Failing academy. It could be a little bit of both. It could be a little bit of all those. The pool of applicants in Northern Virginia, there's very fine police departments in Northern Virginia. We like to think we're, you know, outstanding and we want to do the right thing, but other departments are fine too. So we're all competing for the same pool of applicants. So what we want to do is the pool starts something like this. You know, we get hundreds of applications, something like this. That's the first pool of applicants. Then we start giving them forms to fill out, learning about who they are. And we, of course, not surprisingly, have standards about criminal histories, about background, about drugs usage and things like that. And so the pool for all people, you know, doesn't matter who you are, for all races, all ethnicities, begins to shrink based on those standards. So it's a number of factors. It's not just one factor. I think it's all of that. I think it's all of that, to be honest with you. And that's why I'm committed to making sure there are no barriers that are standing in the way of qualified applicants from any diversity getting employed here. You know, so like I said, we've done a couple of things, and I don't have a lot of data to say that had an impact, but I've been around a little bit, and I know that it could. I could certainly say it may have impact, so we're relaxing some of these things to be sure we don't have barriers that aren't required, that are not necessary. So it's tough, and I've been doing, you know, what we can to address that, but it's challenging for us. One of the things we're trying to do is enter into a more working relationship with NOVA. We have a lot of local people, young people, who attend our Northern Virginia Community College, of course, and I've met with the president of Northern Virginia over at Woodbridge campus, Dr. Hill, talked with him, very fine man, about what we can do to assimilate ourselves. I mean, we've recruited at NOVA for years, but what can we do to have even a broader presence in NOVA so that people understand who we are and what we're about and that sort of thing. We have a cadet program. We've just kind of started up. We need to do more there. We teach criminal justice. I didn't know how many people know that our public schools Prince William Public Schools have like 3 or 4 high schools where they actually teach criminal justice classes. And we need to be more involved in those classes so people learn about it. You have to be 21. Actually, you have to be 20 to be hired. So if you know someone, you have to be 20 to be hired, but you must turn 21 by the time you graduate. So we have 2 classes a year, one in January and one in July. They're both 6 months long. So if you're hired for the January class, when you're hired, you can be 20, but before you graduate in June, you have to turn 21, if you follow me. Yes. So there's not one factor, to answer your question. It's a number of factors, and a lot of them apply to all groups of people, all backgrounds. But it's a challenge for us, and like I say, I'm open to suggestions of what we can do more. And because I do come from the school, and I don't ever say this right, I know there's a clever way to say it, but if you're doing the same thing and getting the same results, you need to look at what you're doing. You know what I mean? That we're doing the same thing. What can we do differently to enhance our diversity? And that's the key word, I think. What can we do differently to enhance our diversity? I don't know if young people, and I don't know what the word is today for the 20, I get confused with all that. Are they millennials? I don't know. I'm a baby boomer, so I don't know. But do they want to go into police work? Are people drawn to police work today? Or are they turned off by it because of national events? I'm concerned about that. It is a great profession. And we have people in law enforcement, the police services, from all backgrounds, from all diversities. And they enjoy police work. They enjoy what they do. So it's a great career. If you have passion and you want to work with people, it's a great career. It really is. I wish I had a better answer for your question, but it's just a number of factors. Thanks.
Thank you for coming today, Chief of Police. The one thing, me and my wife, we got here in the beginning of 2014, and we noticed the population growth from then to now has been increasing just tremendously. Is the police force increasing with that? And what is the actual citizen to police ratio that's ideal and what it is now currently?
Thank you for your questions. Welcome to Prince William County. A couple of years late, but we don't have a song as good as the song you sang this morning for well, maybe we need to come up with a song and welcome people and mail it to them or something. The county mails you an email, has a song attached. Welcome to Prince William County. But thank you for that. We have authorized strength is 660 sworn officers today. That's our authorized strength. Now we have vacancies, but that's the authorized strength. We have a class of about 42 in session now. They started in July, so they haven't been there very long. They'll graduate early December, mid-December. So at 660, our ratio rate is about 1.5, 1.45 to 1.5 officers per 1,000. That's kind of where we are. The Board of Supervisors, and when I say that, really it's the community, the folks that are citizens from Prince William County who are here today, which I'm sure there are many. Thank you very much for supporting your police department. So the Board of Supervisors has historically been pretty good, pretty strong about staffing. So the bad news is, I'll tell you the bad news first, is this year, this current fiscal year, we did not receive any additional sworn positions. But I understand that a little bit. I don't want to lay that back on any, on the board. I really don't. Because, we have vacancies that we need to fill. And we have some retention issues and things like that we need to talk about. So we are still hiring police officers. We have attrition, in other words. So we have vacancies. So there's plenty of vacancies to hire people. So that's what our classes are made up of. They're made up of vacancies, not additional positions. However, the board has very frequently in the last 10 years, given us 20 officers, 25 officers each year. And that's been a strong support in my view. You want to be careful about getting too many new officers because you want to be able to find, identify, hire, and train those people. Let's just say it's 20. In the same fiscal year, you get them. That's really what you want to do. So if somebody said, hey, Barry, great news. Yes, what is it, Mr. Board? We're going to give you 50 cops. 50? Wow. I'm not going to be able to fill those in a reasonable time. I just won't be able to do that because I won't be able to train that. So we have a capacity is a word we use. We have a capacity for how many we can hire, which is probably, with attrition, that number's probably around 60 to 80 a year. And then we have a capacity of how many we can train each year. So 20 to 25 officers a year would be probably the max. If it was 15, that'd be fine too. But the good news is, for example, while the board did and the citizens didn't add additional positions in FY17, our current fiscal year, the last 3 fiscal years before this, they did add a substantial number of police officers. Like 80 police officers were added over the last 3 fiscal years, 20, 25, 20, it's been a very large number of police officers added over the last 3 or 4 fiscal years, and we appreciate that support. So while we didn't get any this way, I think it's always important to tell the whole story, and don't get caught up in always about the now. The now is we didn't get any this year, but the whole story is the last 3 or 4 years, we've gotten a fairly substantial number of new positions. Now, having said that, no police chief in America is going to say, I have enough. Don't give me any more. Stop giving me positions. I'm certainly not going to say that. And the officers who run calls every night would tell you we need more police officers, and we do. But we have to have steady and predictable growth. Steady and predictable growth. We can't have. It's difficult for us to manage. If we get 0, then we get 5, then all of a sudden we get 20, then next year we get 5. We like to have a number and just stick with it, like say 15 a year, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. Then we can plan. We can plan all of our resources for training and recruiting, We know we should have this many recruiters, we should have this many trainers. Why? Because we're going to have 15 new, plus we're going to have attrition, retirements, separation for other reasons. So it's good for us if we have a predictable and sustained staffing plan of the same number. That doesn't always happen, but I understand why it doesn't happen, and I'm glad to get the number that we do get. And over the big course of things, the overarching response would be the board and the community has been very supportive of providing staff to the police department. Thank you.
So I would just like to know, what kind of training do the recruits go through at the academy?
How old are you?
10.
You're not 20?
Not yet.
All right. That's a great question. What's your name?
Cabo.
What is it?
Cabo.
Great to meet you, Cabo.
Great to meet you too, sir.
Great question. They go through, you're talking about recruit training. They go through, training never stops. We all go through training. We have lots of training every year, in-service training for our tenured police officers. But for our recruits, for our new police officers, it's 6 months training, 6 months of training, and the training consists of a variety of topics, as you might expect. We have legal training at 7:10 a.m. Yeah. Those of us who have been to college, you're cracking open the law books with a lawyer teaching you at 7:10 a.m. in the morning for 2 hours every day, taking you through search and seizure laws, laws of arrest, talking about the U.S. Constitution, which we take an oath to uphold. So there's a lot of academic training. The media, and maybe we do this ourselves a little bit with some of our recruiting videos. We probably do when we probably do a little bit. but there's a lot of academic training in a police academy, a lot of books, a lot of studies, a lot of homework, a lot of reading. We tend to emphasize the running and the jumping and the shooting and the arresting and the defensive tactics drills, the driver training, firearms training. All those are important. You have to have those skills. You have to have those tools, but a lot of it is academic. But there is firearms training, there is driver training, there is cultural diversity training, as we talked about a few minutes ago. There's fair and impartial policing training. There's first aid, there's CPR, there's things that deal with helping people like that. How to operate a device, it's called an AED, which if people have a heart attack and we're there, we know how to operate this device that helps them perhaps recover from that heart attack. We have training dealing with canines, how to respond around a canine, how to respond around crowds that are unruly, things of that nature. So it runs the gamut. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of training that goes into being a police officer. And they work very hard. They will tell you as they near graduation, they're very proud to be graduating, and they certainly earned it. It's intense. It's intense training. But at the same time, while it's difficult and challenging, it's very rewarding for those who successfully complete that training and go on to have a career as a law enforcement officer. So thanks a lot for your question. And come see us when you're ready. All right. Yes, sir.
Chief, once again, I'd like to thank you for coming out. When the apostle said that you were going to be coming, I had a lot of questions. I said, but one thing took place last week at the service, and this is more so a commitment to the officers on your staff. As my family and I were leaving church, we stopped to get some dessert, and I saw a situation unfolding. African American, Caucasian officer, typical situation that's been going on. It's kind of been bringing a lot of attention to the media and so forth. And one thing that really stood out to me was that the officers that was involved didn't have their service weapons drawn. One officer had a taser. And to me, that's like, okay, where most of the other situations were, it was kills type of situation. That's how it all brought out in the media. But the way this officer brought with the taser, I say at the end of the day, this person gets to live. Both officers, the officer and that person, if he gets free or whatever, they get to come at the end of the day. So I wanted to commend your officers for how they handled the situations, and I thought that was awesome to bring that to your attention.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for those kind words. Officers, of course, I'm closer to it here in Prince William County. Officers don't want to use force. That's not what officers want to do. They much rather say, sir, ma'am, would you please do this? Would you please do that? Would you please turn around? If they're going to make an arrest or whatever it might be. They don't want to use force. Sometimes they do. Sometimes the situation calls for it. But we talk a lot about de-escalation in the county police department. We have drills on that. And we have computer technology that's pretty cool. We're all going through that this fall again, and you have scenarios that are played on a screen, and you respond to those scenarios. And then you're evaluated about how you responded to the scenario. And it's very good training, and we're very proud to participate in that. But a good police officer understands that interpersonal skills, communication skills, being patient. Some people have challenges and disabilities. Maybe they don't hear well. Being patient with people. Time is always on our side for the most part. Maybe there's sometimes it may not be, but most of the time is on our side. So slow roll, being patient with people. Maybe they're having a tough day. Maybe they just found out something awful about their life, and you now have pulled them over 15 minutes after that, 20 minutes after that, and you wonder why they're upset at you, the officer. Well, they're not really upset at you, but they're venting because they're angry at something else in their life that perhaps they've just learned about, and you're the first person of authority they've spoken with in the last half hour. So we need to be patient and kind and understand that people out here, while we all have great days, we also have days that maybe aren't as good as we want them to be. And we need to be respectful and mindful of that. So talking with citizens, getting a supervisor on the scene. I can tell you from experience, if you get a supervisor on the scene, that helps slow things down, has a little perspective to step back and view the situation slightly different perhaps than the first responding officers about how we're going to proceed. That can be very helpful. Think strategies like that. But thank you for your comment. Very nice. Appreciate that. Well, that's even better. That's even better. That's good to hear. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Chief, and thank you for your service. I have a wonderful relationship with the police department. I'm administrator in Prince William County Public Schools. I'm at the middle school level, and I'll give my resource officer, Officer Rodriguez, a plug because he does a great job interacting with the children.
Thank you.
Establishing a relationship with them before there's an incident. Because of all the negativity that's been in the media, have you guys considered bringing your resource officers down to the elementary level to build those relationships so by the time they get up to the middle school and high school level, they have a different mindset from what they see on television?
Thank you for your question. The answer is no. That's the answer. We have 30 SROs in our schools. School resource officers, SROs, and we have one at every high school, and we have one at every middle school, as you well know, and we don't have them at elementary schools. We do what we can, and I actually get data on this. The officers, all officers, are required to stop in at elementary schools and communicate with the kids at elementary schools, and we're making tens of visits every month. I mean, many visits are made every month, both in the Woodbridge, eastern area of the county, and up in Manassas, Gainesville area, the western area of the county. Many visits are made every month, but we have not historically placed student resource officers, school resource officers in the schools to start that dialogue. Maybe that's something we can look at on the chart. And again, I'm not hung up on charts, but on the chart, the middle school SROs kind of have responsibility for the feeder elementary schools for that middle school. We do that, and so if there's like something going on, they should make an effort to attend that elementary school. If there's like a speaking opportunity or a special event at that elementary school, they should try and make an effort to get over there. But we don't have assigned SROs to those schools. I guess that would take, I don't know, 40 or 50 elementary schools in the county, maybe. I'm not sure, but I know they have the most kind of schools for obvious reasons, and they feed into the middle schools. But we haven't gotten there yet. But we pay attention to the elementary schools, but we do all we can with the middle schools and the high schools. One thing that I'm curious about. And I think about a lot of things and discount a lot of things and then move forward with things, And I'm thinking about the SROs the other day. After attending a lot of community events and learning about people's concerns about being stopped by the police, is could the SROs, and I haven't said anything to anybody about this.
We won't tell.
But don't tell, that's right. Could particularly I have not talked to the SROs, if you know what I mean. So this is between us. But could the SROs do something at the middle schools and the high schools in relation to how to respond when they're stopped by the police? Now they do something. I'm sure they do. These are great people, and thank you for your comments about Officer Rodriguez. Thank you very much. So I don't know, but I'm not sure it's formalized. In other words, I'm sure there are SROs who are in the cafeteria who are, visiting the students every day, and the SROs are great. I mean, they're just great. 30 outstanding police officers who care about kids. And if I had them here today, They're just great people. They really are. They care about kids a whole lot. And I'm sure they've had informal conversations. I'm sure they get that question. You know they do. Hi, officer, what should I do if I'm stopped? What should I do? How should I, I'm sure they engage and have those conversations. But I'm talking about maybe we need to do more of that on a little more formal kind of basis. I'm just something I've been thinking about. And they're very busy. The SROs are very busy. But you have to weigh. Sometimes you have to decide what important things are not going to be done. So maybe there's some things they're doing that are important, but is this more important than, you know what I mean, than a little bit of what they're spending their time on today? But understand your question, and you can't ever start engaging with young people too soon.
And they do come, I was at the elementary school level, they do come by. But just a suggestion, maybe they could do like a rotation of be assigned to an elementary school just for a half a day, a month. That would be good in starting those relationships. They do come in, because I was at Fitzgerald, and they do come in frequently. But we just need a sustainable amount of time just for them to spend with the kids and get to know them. Thank you so much.
That's a good thought. Maybe we can talk about that. The staff in the police department, maybe we can do that. Because I think one thing that I like police, if I had my way, and I don't have my way, but police officers need to wear uniforms. Because I think it's important that young people learn that the uniform is a helper, and is there to be a helper and provide assistance and whatnot. So when they learn that early on, I think that's a helpful thing. So I thank you for that suggestion. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I have 2 compliments with a question. And my compliments goes out to your frontline officers, and I see where their integrity and the character that they use coming from. I see where it's coming from, so it's compliments to you and your officers.
Thank you.
I was stopped 3 times, and 3 times they let me go. I understand now.
Warnings are a good thing.
Yes, they are. But my question is, in my line of work, I can see where the front line gets ignored from middle level managers, and they try to block the information that needs to get to you so you can make an decision on where the discipline and so forth, where you need to know to make your decisions and where your front line needs to go. So my question is to you, are you closely involved in middle level management? I understand your front line, but your middle level management to where this, the decisions you need to make for us in advancing your force.
Thank you, first of all, for your kind remarks at the beginning. I appreciate that. Yes, I am, is the answer. You're exactly right. In the police department, probably anywhere in America, and it's always dangerous when you speak for all police departments in America, But in America, the sergeants run the squads. That's just how it is. We have all kinds of commanders and chiefs of police. I got all kinds of people with various levels of brass walking around, that kind of thing. All departments do. But when you get right down to it, the sergeants who are with them every moment, every shift, every tour, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., Saturday night, Sunday morning, Thanksgiving Day, all that, they're all together. Those supervisors are with the officers more than anyone. They know their attitudes and behaviors. They know their strengths and their weaknesses on an individual basis. Like this officer here is really good at this, but he's got some challenges over here. They know about all that. So yes, that's a great insight, to be honest with you, great insight. So I hear you. It is important, and I do that simply by kind of doing what I'm doing today. I get out, and I was out last night, and for a little bit, and I talk to people, and I engage people, and I like to see, I like to have a little bit of hands-on. I like to see things and talk to supervisors and understand what they're dealing with. And I have, meetings with them from time to time. So I think that is key, so that things are not, I believe in going to the source. I've wakened up supervisors and officers when I needed information. I could have asked a commander what happened, but I have awakened officers who, when I have a question on a call, to find out directly from them what happened. And same thing with sergeants. I talk directly with them. I have them in the room. So your insight is outstanding on that point. You're right. It doesn't help anyone, particularly the citizens of Prince William County, to have anything glossed over, sanitized, or you know what I'm talking about. We have to have the facts, and I believe in dealing with the facts. I think facts are important, but I'm sensitive to that question, and I understand it. And I do work on that. Thank you.
Afternoon, Chief. First of all, I would like to say kudos to you and the job that you're doing, because I've never heard of any police misconduct in this county, and I've lived here for years. I've never read about anything, so that's a testament to the job that you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It means a lot. That means a lot to me and to our officers.
I keep hearing politicians and people always talk about rebuilding trust between the community and the police department. This trust has existed for 200-300 years with the black community and the police department and law enforcement. Okay, it's something that was put in place, because of propaganda, because of stereotypes. Okay, my question is, what do you do, or what ideals do you have as police chief to bridge that gap, to return the trust or bring about a trust, because I don't think there's ever been a trust there, so you can't return to something that never existed. And how do you eliminate the fear between the black community and the police department, the fear that they have with the black community?
That's a powerful question. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And thank you for your opening comments. I appreciate your comment about living here as long as you have and saying positive things about our department. That's very meaningful to me. There's no one thing. I would start off by saying, how do you break down fears and how do you build up trust? I'm here today. That's I'm here today. And I'm willing to attend any kind of forum, anytime, anywhere in Prince William County with any number of people, 5 people, 200 people, doesn't matter. And I'm willing to engage citizens and answer their questions and continue to make sure that our staff understands the expectations of how we do policing in Prince William County. And we do that through training. As I said, I know it sounds a little repetitive. That's what we do. There's no one thing. Selecting the best people, working on our diversity. And there's another part of diversity we don't talk about a lot. I'll share with you, if I can remember, I'll share with you just a perspective I have on that. But working to increase our numbers in diversity, because I think when people have common experiences, there is some level of understanding that is supportive of those citizen contacts. I hope I'm saying that well enough. But through training of staff, selection of staff, supervision of staff, disciplining of staff, then retraining, and which can include separation when necessary, retraining of staff when necessary, additional training, remedial training, mentoring training, recognizing and participating in community events and hosting community events. We need to participate and be a part of events that happen in our community. Happy times, in other words. Recognizing Black History Month, recognizing and attending events that honor Dr. King in January, recognizing and understanding that the importance of the election of President Obama whatever you think of politics, and I don't get into politics, but I do know when history's been made. And so, and I was there the evening, and you know this, I'm sure, but on that point, I was at the fairgrounds, and the first time President Obama was elected, his last campaign visit, the first time, you know, when he was still Senator Obama, his last campaign visit was in Prince William County, at the county fairgrounds that Monday night. I guess that would have been 07, or was it November of 08? One of those, you know what I mean. So when he was still Senator Obama, then of course he was at the fairgrounds. There were thousands of people there. It was electrifying. Again, regardless of where you are in politics, you know, but just the moment was electrifying. Then he finished there and got on a plane, went back to Chicago for the Tuesday election. So it was, you know, we need to attend, engage in events, you know, that are important to people of all backgrounds, and understand that we appreciate these events. We appreciate our diversity, not to just attend events that we are familiar with, that we're comfortable with. We need to be a little uncomfortable, maybe, you know. We need to be attending Latino events and having officers attend such events and things of that nature. We need to attend in African-American festivals, appreciating your culture and heritage that sometimes are, you know, there's fairs and whatnot. So I think it's just having a culture in the police department that appreciates and understands that we are blessed to have people of all backgrounds. None is better than the other. You know, we're all great people. There are bad people of every race, every background, every, you know, whatever you want to add to the end of the sentence. But we need to celebrate the fact that we have folks from every background, every walk of life here. If we speak like 70 or 80 languages in our schools, I know there's educators here from Prince William schools, and I go to Hilton and other schools, and I see all these flags in the multipurpose rooms, and those are representing the languages spoken by children that attend that school. So I think it's just appreciating and participating in any kind of event that we can, where we'll be able to meet people, particularly in informal settings, where we can just, you know, have an ice cream cone together and or a hot dog or barbecue or something, and talk about the things we have in common and what our concerns and challenges are. You know, everybody who lives in Prince William County wants their kids to be happy. Who doesn't want their children to grow up happy, to successfully attend school, go on and do great things? I don't care who you are, what your ethnicity is, who doesn't support that? You know, who doesn't want that to happen, for their family to be happy and healthy? And we all support that. So we have so much in common, way beyond our differences, way beyond our differences. So I think it's just sustaining that for the long haul and recognizing the type of strategies I've talked about, getting out and meeting people, instilling in what I think are the correct values in our troops. And we have great people. We have great police officers of all backgrounds in Prince William County. And I just need to, you know, we're not, like I said early on, we're not perfect, but we have really good cops. And I'm very proud of them, very proud of them. We're not perfect by any means, but they work hard to do a good job, and for you to be proud of them. But it's not, it's a journey, you know, and I don't know when the journey ends. I do know this: last March, it was the 50th anniversary of the Pettus Bridge down in Alabama. I think it was March 15th. And you know, I've seen the film before with the activities of the police at that stage and that year, 1965, at that bridge, and you know, it was disgraceful. So we need to learn, and hopefully we have in America, what policing is about. And people talk a lot about community policing as a way to build bridges. And I like to think of it as community plus policing equals community policing. So I put a little plus sign between the two words, because I think you need both to build bridges, break down barriers, and just understand as best we can that people that don't look like us talk in a different language, whatever differences we can articulate, has nothing to do with who they are as a person in terms of their character. We have great people in Prince William County, and we need to be a police department that recognizes our differences don't speak to character. People should be judged by who they are, who their character, not by what they look like, not by what language they speak. We should not make assumptions based upon our observations. We should make decisions based on facts and based on what we learn about a character of an individual. And I think it's important that myself and people who work for me and all of our officers do everything we can to engage our community continuously. And I'm committed to that. I'm committed to having the best people work here, the best officers we have work here. I'm committed to doing the right thing, to praise them when they do well, which happens every day, but also to understand and to acknowledge sometimes we don't do well. And when that happens, that's on me to address that. That's on me. That's my responsibility to address that, which is what we do. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but I've tried to. It's not one factor. It's a culture. It's building a culture within the police department and in our community where we know each other on a more personal level and understand we have the same concerns and really the same goal, the same mission, if you will. Because crime, if you want to talk about crime, for example, I reported on crime statistics for the entire county. But I know that crime is really about, for people, for an individual, for a family, crime is really about your neighborhood. You want to know, Barry, it's really cool to tell me about Haymarket, and really cool to tell me about all the crime in the county, all the crime's down and all this kind of thing, and crime, there's what's happening. But I want to know about my neighborhood. And it really gets smaller than that. I want to know about my street. What's happening on my street? So, talking with people is the most important thing I do as police chief. Be it talking with officers, talking with the community, talking with kids. When I was a sergeant, and yeah, I was a patrol sergeant, I did real police work one time. When I was a sergeant, a wise, long-retired lieutenant came in my office one day. I say office, we're talking very, and said, Barry, you need to learn to put your pencil down. And I remember that to this day. So, you need to get out and talk to people. The paperwork will be there tomorrow. The paperwork will wait. You need to engage people. So the most important, underline it as many times as we can possibly underline it. I don't care what the number is, 10, 100. The most important thing that I do as police chief is to talk to people I work for, which are the people here today. Recognize and acknowledge their concerns. Don't just shake my head, yeah, and then, but respond to it. And talk to the police officers. Because I can't learn if I don't listen. And it's important that I understand the feelings of all Americans, all people who reside, work, play, live in Prince William County. And I work hard at that. And I make it very clear to staff that work for the police department through my actions not just my words, but through my actions, what I do with my time, who I visit with, the people I consider community leaders, visiting with them, they see that and they learn. Well, Barnard he went to, a church on Sunday. He met with his community leader on Wednesday. And they know that. They learn about that. And I think that who I speak with and how I spend my time and what I do with my time is a lesson. There's a lesson there. So building trust is a phrase we all use in America about policing. And I think you get there one conversation at a time. Thanks.
I just want to say thank you for coming out. My father was actually retired a few years ago in an area of police chief in New York City. I just wanted to ask, I know my topic is basically felons. I know that there are requirements to be on the force, but how do you pursue, what do you guys do with like applicants that are felons? For example, I know that as a felon, you're prohibited, gun rights, you're prohibited in certain areas. So if someone had been a felon, let's say they committed a crime at 19, depending on what the felon was, and 20 years later they decided they wanted to join the force, do you guys offer waivers? How do you approach something like that? I know military in certain areas they offer specific waivers. Do you guys ever encounter something like that?
Yes, we do. Your father was in law enforcement?
Yes, sir. 30-something.
Well, thanks very much for that. Yes. Do you live in Prince William County?
No, sir. I live in Fredericksburg.
Well, it's a short commute from Fredericksburg to the...
He lives in New York City. He lives in New York City.
It's a good question. You're exactly right. Convicted felons, there may be some exceptions. I don't pretend to know all the laws, even though I feel like I should all the time, but I don't pretend to be, know every law in America or even in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But the bottom line is, for convicted felons, now we're not talking about people who were charged with a felony, big difference. So I hope, I want to make that clear. Not people who were charged. We're talking about people who were convicted of a felony. They're pretty much going to have a tough road to be hired by law enforcement anywhere in America. I can't speak for the thousands of agencies in America, but just from my time in the profession, that's going to be a difficult time. I do recognize, in fact, I give a little talk about that, about forgiveness when I talk with staff, about we are a forgiving agency in terms of internal staff, talking about how we get along, and so I recognize that if someone did something when they were 19, broke into a shed and stole a lawnmower or something, kind of a silly thing to do based on youthfulness, something like that, didn't hurt anybody, that kind of thing, but they were convicted of a felony, or sometimes perhaps those things are reduced to something less than a felony. Maybe they were convicted of a larceny case or something like that. There may be a window there, but if it's actually on the records as a felony, you're right, they have a difficult time even possessing a firearm, which of course is required in our profession. So that right there creates an issue. The only way I'm familiar with that, which could offer some relief, is to have that, and as a process, most states have a process for this, and Virginia certainly does, is to appeal to a court and attempt to have that record expunged. And I'm not really familiar with the process, but occasionally we do receive applicants and they've had some things in their past expunged. And if it's been officially expunged by a court of record in Virginia, or a court that we would recognize outside of the state of Virginia, we could look at that, because if it's been expunged, it's been expunged. You know what I mean? If it's been expunged, it's like it didn't happen. And if we get a copy of that record of expungement, we could take a look at that, particularly if time has passed, and there's no magic number, you know, but if a significant, in other words, you're looking for X years of good behavior, good, you know, good citizenship kind of thing. But if time has passed, the record's been expunged, there's a possibility we could take a look at that applicant, and based on the merits of the applicant as a whole. If you are a juvenile, and we certainly can understand that as you enter adulthood, we look at issues as a juvenile as issues as a juvenile. And there are some serious exceptions, but certainly we understand that there's a reason there's a special court for kids and another court for adults. So I recognize that, I'll just tell you, to this day, we've been hiring officers since 1970 when we started the department. Yes, and while I've been here a long time, I was not here in 1970. But we have not ever hired a perfect person. You know, we all come with things in our background that maybe we're not real proud of and things of that nature. But it's about telling the police department the whole story. You know, here's something I'm not proud of. Here's what happened. Give it to us and let us evaluate it based on who you are today. Not who you were 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, but who you are today. But to answer your specific question, that's a tough one. I don't want to mislead anyone in the room. That's a tough one. If a person is a convicted felon, that's a tough one to overcome. There could be some avenues, like I say, expunged. There could be something there, but that's a tough one. That really is a hard one to get to. Thanks. Thank you.
Just very quickly, can you explain the relationship between your department and the Sheriff's Department, and how the diversity, cultural sensitivity, community engagement, how that training and education works together? Do you all report to one another as peers, or is there, what's the hierarchy like?
Thank you. Sheriff Glenn Hill is a great sheriff, and he's a friend of mine. I'm a friend of his. We've known each other for years. He is the elected sheriff of Prince William County. Many of you, I suspect, have met him. He has a terrific agency. We work very closely together. We train together. His deputies, the police officers in the county police, we go to the same police academy out in Oaksville. So we're sitting right next to each other. They go through the same basic training that police officers do. Same room, same everything. You know, this gentleman here, this gentle lady, she's with the sheriff's office. This guy's with the county police. This person's with the, you know, they're sitting right next to each other in training. So we have a very close relationship with them. We talk with the sheriff's office daily about keeping our community safe. Their role, the sheriff's office role, is primarily centered upon courthouse security in the courthouse in Manassas, transportation of prisoners around the Commonwealth of Virginia, serving civil summonses and whatnot throughout Prince William County. You'll see some deputies on the road serving civil service, you know, like eviction notices, things of that nature, notices to come to court. So that's their primary responsibility. The county police have primary law enforcement responsibility in terms of answering calls for service, helping the citizens, whatnot. But the sheriff's office, if they're on our same radio system, so if they see we could use some assistance, or if they are the first ones to engage a citizen on a situation, they don't hesitate to assist, get involved, whatever the case may be. We have total confidence in their staff. They're great people. So there's not a hierarchy per se. They have their role and responsibilities, and the county police we have our role and responsibilities. We talk to them every day. I mean, I'm serious. Every day we talk to them, and I talk with the sheriff and see him all the time. And so we work together is the answer to the question. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for the welcoming hospitality. Thank you for having me.
Come on, let's give the chief another hand. Amen. Get a picture? Get a picture? Amen. Was that informative? Was that informative? Amen. I'm sorry we had to stop the questions because of time. We want to also be mindful of the chief's time and thank him for the opportunity to come here today, and thank you for being a resource to let us know about some of the things in which how the community and the police community, the community at large and the police community itself can work together. There is a question I think people were afraid to ask this question, okay? It's getting towards the end of the month. And
what kind of vehicle do you drive?
I thought I just
Which way do you go when you leave the church?
I thought I'd throw that in because I know somebody wanted to ask that question there. But we just want to thank you. And Pastor Gordon, please come up, sir. Thank you also. Amen. God bless you. Please come over, sir. Come over. And Pastor Stevens, please come up, please. Come on. Amen. We can just get a joint picture here. I appreciate it. Let's slide over here, if you don't mind. Amen. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you for those. I know because of time, many may had to leave out, but we thank you for staying. And we're going to be trying to have a number of the community, on different other days, community kind of forums like this here, so that we can stay abreast as to what's going on in our community at whole. Amen. Brother Tyrone, can you please come up, sir, and pray us out?
Bow our heads. Dear Lord, I thank you for this day. I thank you for our church, Lord. I thank you for the whole congregation here, Lord. Bless each and every one that's here today. I thank you for just grace and mercy, Lord. And dear Lord, just make all of us just have safe travels and mercies home. And amen. Amen.